And so I ended up washing the car, put a little spray wax on it, put some shine to the tires, and I had to tuck underneath the little rubber piece that goes around the grill guard and try to shove it back up in there. And then I've got this hood that used to say police on it, but it's been scraped off. It's like they took a real tough grinder and grinded it off. So it was a horrible looking hood. And so I'm out there like Thursday, the homecoming the parade was Friday. And so Thursday night, I'm like out there. I've got the side panels like taped off, and I'm out there with spray paint, painting my hood. It was kind of ghetto, but at least it looked okay for the 30 seconds that we rode across the road there. So that was a lot of fun. They had a homecoming, or what do they call it? What was that? Pep rally. It just was really weird. So that was my week. Plus, we went and saw a comedian. I told most of you already. Who is the comedian?
Larry Bargatze.
Yeah, the guy.
Very clean.
I wish I'd worked
Very.
My own laundry.
I do. Yeah.
Well, he had two concerts. Wednesday.
So we had a good time last night. It's been a good week. Usually we're just hurrying to get things done and got a lot going on, but this week was actually pretty good on my end. Pretty calm, except for homecoming, spray painting my hood. Ghetto. Anybody else? Week was okay? Chaos? Everyone gotten sick yet? Between the cold and the heat? All right. All the late ones have come in. Thank you. I'm just kidding. Y'all had a rough night, I heard,
Y'all get out of
We were like, the parking garage seems like a great idea. And then it was parking garage.
No,
It all is a terrible idea.
All of it. You probably got out before. You got to our car like.
It actually moved pretty quick. Probably about 15 minutes.
Usually the garage goes through like faster because it's premium parking. We paid for general parking, so
How much did you pay?
we didn't pay any. The people we went with paid. We rode with them.
Well, that's why we went to the parking garage because it's the same price. Right?
Yeah, it's the same price.
$25.
Oh, was it?
$25.
And it could be who actually showed up there too, because they have specific parking for certain
Yeah, like
political parties that
3
show
and
up.
4, if they have their box seats, they have like the 3rd and 4th floor.
Well, there was a section of parking garage.
Yeah.
Why was
I was like, I know Kyle Partain, and they're like, second level, sir.
Yeah, they'll throw my name out there. They'll hold you. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't very Christian. I was like, you allow one person in.
It's a zipper. I don't understand how people don't understand that. It works so
No,
good.
people were not zippering.
Yeah.
What's like right there coming in downtown, people's like, you have a merge lane. Why are we stopped?
My favorite is when people, when you turn your blinker on, they're going to sit right there in your quarter. I accelerate, they accelerate. I slow down, they slow down.
Yeah.
You're like,
You want me to clip you? I guess I can do that.
Good times.
State troopers are the worst.
Yeah.
I haven't met you yet, I'm sorry.
I was waiting for something.
Yeah, and then they never came back to our class ever.
Please come back.
I'm going to turn the. Are y'all warm in here?
There's plenty of material for you temporarily.
Turn the AC on here.
your empty classroom today.
I'll watch the live.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, by the way, he does record this. It's on YouTube.
On YouTube? Oh, I would do Facebook Live.
Oh, yeah, you can do live.
Yeah,
It's on that.
What happened?
Facebook Group Live.
Don't give him more ideas.
What did we do?
Slow down on the email.
No, they're all the same. Now I have to do it in Facebook and
I think you just get it
email.
on both.
We just communicate better on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, I'm horrible at checking emails. Once I know.
How do you all communicate in your group?
We don't.
On Sunday. Hey, normally in English.
Some days. I mean,
It was funny though. Creighton got to me Wednesday. He said, "Hey, I'm going to need you to teach my class Sunday." I said, "That's fine." So we're going through the teachers' meetings, and he's just talking. He's being very explicit about what he wants me to say to his class. Like he's just not saying it, but he's saying it. I said, "Okay, we'll see how that works out." So anyway, we'll get started here. So I'm glad Susan's here. I'm about to talk about her favorite subject in a minute.
October's gonna end.
October. I like to share some spooky stories. And
You don't
some...
put the picture up there again.
I did what? Say that again. I forgot what. We're going to do this one. I didn't do it last week because I horrified just enough where I tried to do two of them, but I'm going to stick with one. Man, that's a great verse.
Grizzlies or chupacabras?
looks like bear cub.
A German Shepherd.
That's
This is police work back in the day.
how police used to dress. That's the police wagon up there.
That's
One thing
it.
in the hat.
That's it. So I'll read stories from the Bible. That's kind of spooky and scary and stuff probably we've never even heard of. So I want to read this right quick. That's not even part of our lesson, but this is for Susan. So I'm going to read out of 2 Kings 22, chapter 2, 22, 24. And it would be important for y'all if y'all wanted to figure out the rest of this story. I'm going to leave y'all on a cliffhanger. So you're welcome. So therefore the water still remains healthy today according to the word that Elisha spoke. From there Elisha went up to Bethel. As he was walking up the path, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him, chanting, "Go up, Baldy! Go up, Baldy!" He turned around, looked at them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the children.
Really?
You're envisioning those kids, aren't you?
This is the theme of the month right now.
Go-
This is how our class normally is.
So if you know Elisha, and Elisha in your lifetime, don't ever call him Baldy. Okay, they may have the name of the Lord on their side and have bears maul their children. There's a lot more to this story that I'm going to share. I don't have a month to talk about it, but Elisha was shadowing Elijah, and Elijah had just gone up by the chariots of fire. Y'all have heard that story. This is what follows immediately after. How that correlates, you'll have to read it and find out. So, happy October. You're welcome. I'll be here next week.
That one kid that's getting bit.
Oh,
I don't know what's up with his nose and lips, but
well, it says children, but it was really like 20-year-olds, teenagers.
Yeah, they had a comment.
I don't think they're all girls. I think
It was like a 6-year-old
Teenagers
said,
stuff.
his fault.
I mean, I don't blame them sometimes. I
You probably have one at least.
Just one.
Yep. So y'all are welcome. We could talk about the one last week.
I missed it. I think we need to hear it.
No, it's on YouTube.
I'll find it, okay.
you just have to-
It's not a good. We need the ending to that one.
With the video, yeah, it's on the video. I'm trying to be popular, guys. So if y'all want to see me on YouTube in the class, just let me know and I'll send you a link. Usually only people watch it 5 minutes and they're done, Okay, get your Bibles or your phones, whatever you prefer. turn to Mark chapter 10. We're now going to get into our lesson. Okay, what is good customer service? This is for y'all to answer. What makes you go back to that place or use the same company? What is good customer service? What do you consider good customer service? What? Attentiveness. You have to give me a word that's difficult to write up there.
Well, the attention to detail, I
Attentiveness. That's why I don't teach my kids spelling. Next word I can't spell. Attentiveness. You're welcome. I write tickets. I don't write words. Your name, your last name, all right? That's all. What else? What is good customer service? What? Fast and efficient. Fast, efficient. Sure, that's wrong. Fast. What else? Friendly. Like it. Not all at once. Come on now.
Personable.
See, y'all are just doing it on purpose now. What did you say?
Personable.
ABLE.
Able. Personable. Thank you. I don't teach my kids spelling this way.
How about quality conscious?
We only have an hour, okay? I mean, we got to keep it. Oh,
Just put quality.
quality. Quality what? What'd you say? Quality?
CONS.
Quality focus?
Quality conscious.
Focus.
I said conscious.
We're gonna go.
Focus.
We're gonna go with focus.
We're keeping it.
In a restaurant.
Anorexic. What? You're done. Shh. Anything else? Now it's
No
gonna.
questions asked for terms?
Okay.
Oh, that's not, yeah.
Is the customer always right?
No.
Until proven wrong.
In taste. Customer is always right, comment in taste.
Until proven wrong.
If you fulfill these characteristics, does that give you a better chance to move up in the company?
No.
Does it get you that much closer to the CEO if you have these qualities?
No.
What does it take now to get
It's
up?
all about who
Brown
you
nose.
know.
Brown nose, kissing up,
Who you know.
You just
Right.
have to know something.
Yeah.
got to know somebody.
Chaos.
Know something about something.
Yeah. Blackmail.
Put that explain.
You're kind of
Positivity going on. It's
Down the rabbit hole.
fine.
Someone's getting personal right now.
I'm not gonna share where I
she's
went.
kind of scaring me right now. This is my wife, everybody. If y'all don't know,
What it is?
I'm kind of scared right now. Right. So the customers is never right. But why do we have that saying? If you own a company, would you try to follow that?
Yes, because ultimately, it's about being a business. And you want that customer to return.
One person can really hurt. This is kind of off topic, but one person can hurt your business. Wait. But some customers you don't want back, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
You're like,
There's always that at least one
Always depends on what kind of it. If it's a corporation and you have the customer, you're always going to aggress, they're going to do whatever. So the local mom and pop place might be like, no, you're not right.
There's the door.
yeah.
Joe's Pizza.
Yeah.
Move on.
This is good. We're definitely going to get through our lesson today.
I think that's probably.
You know how Joe got that job? I do.
Well, look, somebody Joe's pizza.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Anyway, so let's go ahead and read. We're going to be in Mark 10, chapter. Mark 10, verse 32. I'm going to read it all first, and then we'll break it down here. 32. They were on the road going up to Jerusalem. Jesus was walking ahead of them. The disciples were astonished, but those who followed him were afraid. Taking the 12 aside again, he began to tell them the things that would happen to him. See, we are going up to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles, and they will mock him, spit on him, flog him, and kill him, and he will rise after 3 days. I'm reading from the CSB, just in case. Because I'm trying to be like Creighton, and he likes to use this Bible, so he's my mentor. Not really. James and John, verse 35. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, approached him and said, "Teacher, we want you to do whatever we ask." "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked them. They answered him, "Allow us to sit at your right and at your left in your glory." Jesus said to them, "You don't know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup I drink, or to be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?" "We are able," they told him. Jesus said to them, "You will drink the cup I drink, and you will be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with, but to sit at my right or left is not mine to give. Instead, it is for those of whom it has been prepared." When the 10 disciples heard this, they began to be indignant with James and John. Jesus called them over and said to them, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those in high positions act as tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. On the contrary, whoever wants to become great among you will be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you will be a slave to all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many." So this is about suffering and serving and being a leader. But verse 32, let's break it down just a little bit. They were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. The disciples were astonished, but those who followed him were afraid. Went too far, didn't I? 12 aside again, he began to tell them things that would happen to them. So, why were the disciples astonished, which surprised, impressed, but also afraid? Any thoughts behind that? I'm thirsty. You want water? Water, anybody? They give y'all time to answer, but everybody wants. So why were they astonished? This is Jesus walking to Jerusalem. Okay, I'll tell you as we move on. So, starting in chapter 8 of Mark, Jesus keeps telling his disciples what's about to happen in his life and where it's going to happen in Jerusalem. The king has already tried to find him and really doesn't like him quite a bit. Just doesn't like him. And he's already done horrific things to try to get to him. And so now the time has come, and the disciples are like back here because they're like, "All right, Jesus, you go ahead, because you keep talking about these things, and now we're kind of freaked out because we have heard what Herod's already done to a lot of people." So, including John the Baptist being beheaded, right? So they are just staying back. So they're kind of impressed by how he's about to embark on a journey that he keeps talking about, and they're kind of freaked out about it. So we call it a fight or flight response. So anybody not heard of fight or flight? Anyone not understand that? Is that a yes or no, John? You're doing the sideways thing. You got me confused right now. So in my field, in law enforcement, there's two types of first responders, I should say. This includes paramedics. This includes, hey, come on in. It includes all first responders. But if something happens tragically in front of you, you're going to have a response. And that response is you're going to fight whatever's ahead of you, or you're just going to run. And man, I'll be honest with you, in the years I've been in law enforcement, you could tell really quickly which officer shouldn't be there and who should be there. It's kind of sad. I don't know if you've experienced that. It's very dangerous to see that. So here comes Jesus. He's definitely not fleeing, but he understands his job. He knows what he's supposed to do. So verse 32. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that. So 33. So he brings him in and says, "See, we're going up to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles, and they will mock him, spit on him, flog him, and kill him, and will rise after 3 days." So we're talking. The Gentiles. Who are today's possible Gentiles? We keep hearing it. It's kind of a different name. What's going on in the Middle East? Hamas. That's a different name. That's part of the Gentiles, believe it or not. And so you can see the Hamas have been fighting this battle since Genesis, almost. And so he's already telling them for the third time what's about to happen. So it says they. So who's they? The crowd, the disciples. It's even said that even Mary Magdalene might be there as well. They were all walking towards Jerusalem. So now is the third time Jesus has to explain to the disciples about what's to come, condemned to death, mocked, spat, flogged, then rise again on the third day. And I think after the third time, you'd figure that these guys would figure it out. They would actually catch on, but they still weren't getting it. And I said this in the last few lessons that we've had. Who seems to be the ones that figure it out? The females. I give you all that credit. The females seem to be the ones that figure it out. Why didn't we have female disciples, right? That's another story. That's another day that I will never embark on. You should ask Creighton. Let's see what he says. So, fight or flight. Are we that obedient when we know what conflict, pain, or hurt may wait for us if we follow Jesus? If you know what's about to come by serving Christ, are you obedient to still follow through? I wonder about missionaries. People who are called to missions. And I'm not trying to say a bad thing about missionaries because they're in it. I'm not. I'm here where it's safe, right? For the most part. But when I hear a missionary, they come back and say, man, we just couldn't handle it. We had to come back. I can't imagine what they have gone through. And so are they coming back because they were told to come back, or did they not figure out that there was pain that was going to follow by serving Christ? Of course, my hat's down to them. I'm here, like I said, and safe. So if you know pain is coming, will you still obey? Has anyone had an experience like this that you knew if you had to go do what you're supposed to do, that you knew pain was coming? And pain can be physical or it can be mentally. It's typically mentally. Anyone had an experience like that? That'd be a tough question to share in front of everybody. So think about that question. Is there suffering that comes with serving Christ? That's an easy question, right? There's suffering either way. So serving Christ, you're going to suffer pain, just like Jesus did. He was the leader of that, right? He understood that. But if you don't serve, if you don't do what God says, you're going to be dealing with pain anyway, right? Serving Christ will lead up to the most uncomfortable things, including ridicule and possibly even death. Not serving Christ, looking the other way, could mean eternal damnation. Either way, it leads to death. Either way, we have to present our case in front of the Almighty. Which side of the spectrum do you want to be on? Those are things to think about. So in verse 35, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, approached him and said, "Teacher, we want you to do whatever we ask." Sounds like something my kids would say or say to their teacher. I think about what happened to my son, my youngest son. He's 5, right? 5. Right, I have 4 of them. Okay. He's 5, and he's sitting in line. He's about to go into PE. And I'm sure there's some details I'm leaving out, but the main gist of it is he's in line about to go into PE, and his teacher says something to the nature of go into PE, right? And he goes, no. And then he pouts and doesn't participate. Yes, my son. Yes. I'm telling all, okay, yeah. We are not a perfect family. My wife is. We are not a perfect family. But he said no to the teacher. Of course, I got a note, and he's done really good since then. Okay. I believe in discipline. That's just the age I was born in. We won't discuss that. At this point, do we think they might have gotten it with Jesus, the crucifixion? Maybe not, because they started asking him for a favor. Have you guys been at a company where someone's about to retire or they're about to lose their job, and the first thing you think of is, what do they have that I can have? You ever had that? Like, ooh, they have a nice desk or a nice patrol car. I have a guy in our unit that he's about to promote to detective status. And I called him this week. I said, hey, man, come meet with me at my school. He's all right. So he gets there, and I'm like looking around at his car, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, you're not going to need this. I'm trying to see if this is better than my patrol car. He's like, thanks, man. Oh, by the way, congratulations on your promotion. So here these guys are wanting now a favor from Jesus. Kind of, how do y'all feel about that? Kind of arrogant? Very arrogant? In verse 36, what do you want me to do for you? I tried to say it and think about it, how when my kids ask something from my wife, how she responds, what do you want now? You're correct. She does not always, 99% of the time, she does not respond that way. So it's a rhetorical question. Do we think it's a rhetorical question from Jesus? He already knows what they want. Okay. Try not to go ahead of my lesson here. So verse 37, they answered him, allow us to sit at your right and at your left in your glory. Do we know where this verse is coming from? And this is in the lesson that we've talked about that was skipped over. I don't think any class has talked about this. Do we know where this might be coming from, where James and John wanted to sit at the right and left hand of Jesus? I might be shocked who might know this until I say something. So I'll say it anyway. Back in chapter 9, the Transfiguration. Okay. This is where Jesus took Peter, James, and John up to the mountain, and there they saw Elijah and Moses appear. And they appeared next to Jesus. So this is my theory, is that they saw this thinking that possibly those two were chosen to be the right and left-hand man for God. And now Jesus is about to be condemned to death, and like, hey, why don't we be your left and right hand man, right and left hand man? That's just my theory. Any theories on that? Any thoughts? Maybe you actually know the answer.
I think they had an idea that Jesus was about to establish his kingdom and his reign, but that was very different from what was about to transpire. And so I think they were trying to make sure that, like you said, they were clearly some of the inside crowd of the 12 disciples. We want to be your number twos, I guess.
I mean, you just showed us something very, very awesome. You didn't show the other disciples. You decided to choose us to see this awesome transfiguration. Don't ask me to spell that, but asked me to, or you had to show that you showed this to us, and this is what we're hoping to expect. Maybe we're better than the rest of them. Why did he choose those three? Anybody know why? I don't actually know that answer.
I think there's a little cultural aspect to it too. So he's a rabbi, and so like the rabbis would then like their disciples, and then they would give them some certain arrangements. The next guy would then take the line as rabbi. So I think it's sometimes it's like these are kind of slightly uneducated kids, right? That are kind of all different ages. Like you have one of them being younger, and I'm pretty sure in some of the other gospels it says that their mom is the one who told them.
Yeah.
Talks about it.
Thinking Matthew.
Yeah, or it might be Matthew, and their mom's like, "Hey, go ask Jesus." Those guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, Jesus, you want to be those guys?" I think there might be a little bit of cultural, because I still don't think they're getting the fact that just earthly man who's about to come and fulfill that kind of. You're like, can you read the next line? So, because you're saying you're going to die, so glory, we get to partake in the Messiah mission. So I still don't think they're getting it quite yet. What they're, and I think that's why he's like, you don't know what you're asking for, man.
Yeah. And then it goes right into 38.
Yeah.
They have no idea what,
Yeah.
so they're like, let me have a little piece of what you're doing.
Solidifies the fact that the disciples still don't get that his goal is a heavenly kingdom, because what they're asking is like a sign of what would be like second in command or a place of honor in an earthly kingdom. So I think it's just continuing to show us that they have missed it, like y'all were saying, like they don't get that Jesus isn't going to fulfill what they think he's going to fulfill here. It's so much bigger than that, but they just can't wrap their minds around it. And these are the people that were not only in the 12, but they were in his smaller circle within that 12, and they're still not getting it, which I think is like just kind of
Yeah, y'all are right. Like in all the Gospels, and I just flipped backwards because when you tell them the second time that he's going to be killed, they're like, but they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to ask him. So this might have been their attempt at asking him something. They're not understanding what's about to happen. They knew something big.
I think it's interesting that they say your right and your left in your glory. And I think that's why Jesus is really. He talks about a cup and he talks about the baptism that he's going to have to do. So like, I don't think they quite realize. Number, I'm for sure they don't necessarily understand that. They understand Jesus can forgive sins. They don't understand he die to then forgive sin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they don't quite realize the sacrifice.
So let's get into that. So in 38, Jesus said to them, "You don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup I drink, or to be baptized with the baptism I'm about to be baptized with? Are y'all willing to serve in about?" Let's see, there it is, y'all. Jesus got text in there for a minute. Are you guys willing to suffer what I'm about to suffer? Are you willing to bear the sins of the world? The cup and bath water are prepared for me. It's my destiny. It's what God put me here on earth to do. It's not yours, it's mine. And still they didn't understand. And I would be the same way as the disciples. I probably wouldn't understand myself. I'd probably have to look at my wife to explain it to them. And in their response, they want to be there for their leader, their teacher, and their response is, yeah, we are able. We are able. But what he says here is great. So he tells them, you will drink from the cup I drink, and you will be baptized with the baptism I'm about to baptize with. He's saying you'll suffer. You're not going to suffer with me, but you are going to suffer. You will have your time. And still, I don't know if they even thought about that yet, because I think if they did, their response might have been even different. But
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
No, I think it's really interesting because I wonder. I've always wondered what's going through their head. Because he goes, "Are you able to drink in the cup that I drink?" Which, if you're thinking of royalty, you're like, "Yeah, buddy, I can." That sounds pretty awesome. And then later, when they're having the Last Supper, he has a cup and he says, "This is the blood of the new covenant. This is my blood that's poured out for you to drink." I'm wondering if at that point they started to realize, "Oh, we're not talking about a nice palace and lovely stuff on this earth." I don't know. I always kind of wondered. At one point, did the realization start to click in? Was it not until after he was crucified, he was giving them all these clues, or if along the way they start realizing, oh, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely later, because they all.
Absolutely, yeah. Just that cup. He's referencing the cup, and they're like, okay. I mean, because they said they didn't seem to even hesitate. Like, can you drink from the cup? Can you be baptized? Yeah. And it'd have been like, oh, by the way, this cup. Talk about suffering.
Just even the physical thought about. So there's some Lutheran churches, maybe Catholic churches, that they actually drink wine when they do the Lord's Supper. They drink wine from the same cup.
It
It,
is. It is Lutheran, yeah.
so
Well, I went to one. I was like, that's kind of.
Catholic is
This is way before COVID. I was like,
COVID.
everyone's drinking from the same cup.
No, we stopped it.
Yeah,
Stop.
they do, they do a little dunk now, so they dunk
the bread and
during the Eucharist. Dunk it.
And he did have a nice white.
No double dipping though, right?
No double dipping. They just dunk it and then he puts it on your tongue. And he's like, all right, move on.
Oh, move
I
on.
haven't seen that. I've heard about being that.
Oh yeah, happens in Weatherford. Saint Joe, Saint Andrew, Saint Andrew.
I don't know, I like the communion to go.
I went to a funeral one time. That was my first time to experience that, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to sit here. You know, y'all enjoy that wine together. I'm not in for it." So, anyway, that was off topic. That wasn't even in my notes here. So verse 40. But to sit at my right or left is not mine to give. Instead, it is for those for whom it has been prepared for. That's already been prepared. Slow your horses down or your donkeys or whatever. It isn't mine to give. Sorry. I serve God. You know, I'm not really God. I'm God, but I'm not God. God has prepared that. Okay. So, do we serve for our recognition or for His? A lot of us in this room, and the longer I'm here in this church, the more I realize how many of us actually serve in this church. But the question we should ask ourselves, do we serve for our recognition or for His? If it's for your own recognition, it's not for Him, right? Just a thought beyond that, okay? Anything on that? You ever find yourself sometimes you are serving and you're kind of wanting a little bit of that recognition? We talked about that in our teachers meeting Wednesday. And one guy brought up our deacons. How many of you guys know who all of our deacons are?
Rachel,
Several of them.
I know what to say.
But we don't know. The majority of us don't know who they all are.
All of them.
And I've had people come up to me and say, these deacons are not doing what they're supposed to do. I was like, okay, what are they doing or not doing? Well, they're supposed to be doing this and this and this. I said, do you even know who the deacons are? No, I don't. Okay. There are deacons at this church that do so much that we have no clue about. And they don't want any recognition. They talked about teachers meeting. We should recognize those who serve in this church. But one guy in there said, no, because some of these people don't want to be recognized. They know where their treasures are or will be. They don't want the recognition. They're serving where they want to be. And plus, it's easier sometimes to serve without people knowing. It takes a lot of guts to stand in front of a congregation to serve, to sing, to preach in front of a lot of kids. So we just had to make sure that we keep each other accountable, that we're not serving for recognition, but for His glory. And I hope you guys hold me accountable to that. I don't want the outsourced recognition.
I think that's a cool point. I mean, because you want all your people serving God to be like let it be me, Lord. Like, let me be the one. Just, you want that willingness, which is kind of what they're showing here, except for the fact that you have to be careful, especially when we get upset and angry with what's going on. Like you're talking about a deacon or any number of things. Like, what are you really upset at? Are you upset because God's not getting the glory, or is it because things aren't going the way you want them to be? Yeah, and if it's because it's not going your way, maybe you just let it go. You know, if it's not going God's way, if it's going the other way, then absolutely, I think you're being called to speak up. But I would probably guess 98% of the time.
It sounded good. Let me write that.
98% of the time, I think it's mostly it's not going my way or the way I'd like it, or it wasn't my idea. And I kind of think that's exactly what Jesus is getting the opportunity to, by their kind of like Peter's usually the one that gets to be foolish, but here they're kind of getting to be foolish themselves by doing the right thing. Hey, I'm eager. I want to be your number one guy, your number two guy, right here. That's great, but what they're expecting is their glory, not God. So Jesus kind of gets to make the right idea, except for you got a little bit wrong. I like that was a good point. I'm sorry. Rambling of I really
Caught up on ideas that we have that aren't necessarily bad. This is what I think. I know the Lord's capable of this. This is good. There's nothing bad about this idea. But sometimes God says that. Times I don't think the disciples here were being wrong. They were like, we want to sit next to you. We want to support you. That's not your role. So it wouldn't be bad to do that. That's not what I have in mind. That's not what God has in mind. So I think sometimes we get caught up in that. Hard for God to let go. And reality, right? Like we have our own expectations, and then reality sinks in, doesn't meet our expectations, bummed or off or disappointed, and we want to point the finger. Well, that was your fault. I had this expectation, it wasn't met. Here's the reality, and I need to blame somebody rather than having that. Or maybe this is God's will, this is the plan, and I need to let it go. I think it
Shows us that the motive of our heart matters more than anything. And I think that whenever, like Allie was saying, and like you were saying, whenever we have a plan that maybe isn't necessarily bad, and God says no, I think the way we handle Him leading us a different way shows us what our true motive is. Not saying that you can't be upset that something you really want doesn't work out, because I think sometimes you're wanting good things, and that's just not how it's going to be. But I think the way you handle that, but especially the way you move forward from it, really shows if your motive is to serve God above all else, or if your motive was for yourself. And I think that's why it's important to spend time with the Lord when those things happen, because He can reveal that to you. And you may not have thought that your motives were wrong, but then when it comes time to have to deal with something like that and move forward, it really can show you what your true heart of heart motive was in that.
Well, that's perfect into our segue into this slide here. So in verse 41, when the 10 disciples heard this, they began to be indignant with James and John. They were mad. Why are you any better than we are? Why would you think that you got the right and left hand from Jesus and not us? Okay, they were annoyed. And we talked about this. We're talking about suck-ups, right? Or what'd you say, Dustin? Brown nosers. That's a lot better word than suck-up. Sorry about that. Brown nosers.
You can suck up and not be and like I'll be a brown noser.
I think about our PIOs, our public information officers. These are guys that probably worked patrol for 1 or 2 years, and they quickly found a way to move up without having to move up. Because our deputy chief and assistant chief's positions are appointed, they're not tested. Okay, like our detectives are, and our corporals, our sergeants, lieutenants, captains, all those are tested. So you can tell who the brown nosers are. Now, we do have some good PIOs, really good. But you can always tell where the chief is, they are too, because they want to go into that. They are truly brown nosers. And if something happens at their own house, which usually does, you won't hear nothing about it on the news. And they'll call every officer to make sure that they don't say anything about it. That's just politics there. I'm not bitter at all. That's why I like my school. I have my office on the 3rd floor on the backside. A lot of people don't even know I exist in the department. If you ask any officer in the department, they know. We go by first and last name. Stephen Partain. I go by Kyle here, but with Stephen Partain, they might say yes. I think I've heard of him, but most of them are like, well, I have no idea. That's the way I prefer it, because my life is my family, not work. So anyway, brown nosing. I don't have time to write that up. I can't spell it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let me finish it out here, 42 to 45. Jesus called them over and said to them, you know that those are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles, lorded over them, and those in high positions act as tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. On the contrary, whoever wants to become great among you will be your servant. And whoever wants to be first among you will be a slave to all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So he just brings his children together and has this little moment with them. And Des talks about this in her when she does some teachings a lot. And it's, where do you stand in this photo? Are you the one that tells people what to do? Are you the boss? Or are you the leader that shows people how to do it and goes through with them through what's going on? I definitely see Jesus in the bottom one. Not only was he selective on who he wanted to bring in, and he brought guys that were the least likely to be good servants. They were there just fishing. They were good in their boat, casting nets. And now here we are, Jesus going through with them and teaching them, and even suffers, shows them what it's going to be like to serve him. So, any last words on that? Actually, hold it to yourself for a minute. We must recognize the people that help to serve in this church. We must love each other enough to know when you're down that I can lift you up, because you'll have moments where you'll turn around and go, what? I thought they had everything. I thought they were doing good. And one person that I thought of, I'm not sure if he was a Christian or not, was this man right here. I was shocked when he died by suicide. I was shocked. All it takes is a beautiful fake smile to hide an injured soul, and they will never notice how broken you really are. That's the people that come into our church. When I'm brokenhearted, I can't wait to get to church, because I'll have someone call me out. I need that. We need that. We must be good leaders. Okay? And that's where I'll end on that. Any last words, comments, complaints, concerns, anything on that? All right, let's pray. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this family that's coming here to listen to your word. Just